it's Marian. Welcome to 25 Days of Plantmas. This is a special Mom Raises Life holiday series where I'll be talking about at least one of my plants per day, every day during Vlogmas. I'll be sharing with you the plant's journey with me ever since I've gotten it, all of our highs and lows, and of course how I care for and propagate the plant. So let's go check my plant event calendar and see which one of my plants I'll be sharing with you today. It's day 13 of 25 Days of Plantmas. And the plant mess of the day is my Cebu blue Pothos. So the Cebu blue Pothos is a very much sought after pothos, especially if you're a pothos collector like me. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure about this plant when I first heard about it because it's very much plain looking compared to other pothos, but it is from the Philippines originally, and that holds some sentimentality to me because I'm Filipino. So I wanted to get Cebu blue pothos, but when I got it, I actually got it in a 8-ish pot, which was too large for me. So what I did was anything that I could fit in here, I put in this one, and everything else that was left over, which was I think 2 or 3 smaller plants, I sold on Etsy. So this plant actually has paid for itself twice or maybe even thrice over, just because I've sold so many propagations from this one. And this one also, as far as propagations, it propagates really well in sphagnum moss. I've propagated some on sphagnum moss as well with this one, and I also have some propagating in sphagnum moss now, and they take pretty well in growing in that medium. So when I got this, it was a hanging plant in my window, but now it is residing in my green wall. Right now it is in a self-watering can, but when I water this, I still take it out and bottom water it just because I don't think the self-watering thing works that well, or it does not give the plant enough water if I just like fill this up, and it doesn't really absorb the water quite well. And this is a very fast grower when I let it trail. This is one of my fastest trailing pothos. Granted that when I got it, it was already trailing a bit, maybe about this long, but then it grew really long. If I can find a picture, I would insert it here, where it basically trailed almost as tall as me. And that's when I also cut it, propagated, and sold it on Etsy. So I never really had any terrible issues with Cebu blue pothos, except for lately when I've been experiencing yellowing leaves, because I think like this one, as you can see, it just fell from the plant, and I think it's just because of it transitioning to the fall season. And also I experienced a bit of root rot with this. Like on this side of the plant, there were some plants that suddenly rotted, kind of like what happened with my Scindaptus pictus argyrius, where it just like, you know, suddenly rotted off the stems, and I saw some yellowing, so I took care of that. It didn't affect any other parts of the plant, so I didn't really bother removing it from the soil. So I think it was just that one side. And so far the yellowing leaves that I've been seeing are from the mature leaves, so I think it's just also the natural growth cycle of the Cebu blue pothos. So I'm not really concerned about the yellowing leaves, and I can see here that there's also some new growth, and there's also actually quite a bit of new growth at the bottom. But if you've seen my plant updates video, like I showed you, yes, it was growing, but it wasn't really growing any leaves or something like this. Or if it was growing smaller leaves. So I just like decided to cut it off after I filmed that video, because I don't think it's a healthy growth, even though it continues growing, and I just didn't want the plant to spend its energy growing something that doesn't look quite healthy. So this one I actually might also cut off too, and maybe try to propagate the nodes of it. But yeah, this Cebu blue pothos has been very rewarding for me. It started off my Etsy shop. Every time I put a propagation of it on sale, it always sold out almost immediately. Because this is such an in-demand pothos, although it's not a rare plant, it's still uncommon, so it's not easily found anywhere. So I was very lucky that I found this at my local Lowe's. It was the only Cebu blue pothos, and when I found it, I knew I couldn't let it go. It was actually this and a Hoya Crimson Queen that was available. It was also the only one too, but I could only get one, and I chose the Cebu Blue Pothos over the Hoya Crimson Queen, and I was happy with that decision that I got the Cebu Blue Pothos instead, because I did get a Hoya Carnosa Crimson Queen later on. But yeah, and any issues that I'm having with it lately with yellowing, I'm not yet too concerned, but check back with me next year, see what I say. I might say something differently. But to be honest, I have a very complicated relationship with this Pothos, because I'm very grateful for this Pothos, because it has become not a source of income, but it did help me start my Etsy shop, and it also basically paid for itself. So this is basically a free plant. But I also feel like the Cebu Blue Pothos is also one of those plants that's very hyped up, and to be honest, if it weren't for the sentimentality of it being originally from the Philippines, I probably wouldn't have gotten this plant and added it in my Pothos collection, because I feel like it's a very common looking plant. So I feel like if you're in search for a Cebu Blue Pothos, don't pay a high price for it, especially online. Just wait for it to come to your garden center or your local nurseries, because I don't think it's worth paying such a high price for this plant. But I mean, you do you. If you want to pay like exorbitant amount for Cebu Blue Pothos, go ahead. But for me personally, I don't think it's worth that much money. Not because I don't think it's not a great plant. It is a great plant, but it's just like, in general, I'm against overpricing plants for people who can't access them quite easily as others. So yeah, I mean, even when I sell them online, I sell them competitively. Like, I price it the same way Steve Leaves price their Cebu Blue Pothos, but mine is actually a lot larger than what Steve Leaves sell on their website. I mean, I'm not cheating Steve Leaves, but I'm just saying in general, you don't have to overprice or pay a lot of money for the Cebu Blue Pothos. I feel like you're cheating yourself, or you're cheating other people if the Pothos is overpriced. But I just don't think it's worth the price other people are charging it for, or other plant shops are charging it for. It's just ridiculous. If you look at Etsy, they sell cuttings, like 3 measly cuttings for like $20. I'm like, why? Like, they sell a full plant for like $50 or $60. I'm like, why? I mean, it's a beautiful plant, don't get me wrong, but it's not variegated. It's not that particularly striking. So I feel like this plant that propagates really, really well and grows really, really fast, there's no reason to overprice this plant, even though it might be uncommon for some. But yeah, so that's just like my little bit of take on the Cebu Blue Pothos. But it's a wonderful plant to add. If you're a Pothos collector like me, it's a wonderful plant to add to your collection. So this is my Cebu Blue Pothos, our Plantmas of the day. That's our Plantmas story of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow for the next installment of 25 Days of Plantmas. And if you miss any episodes, all of them will be included in the playlist that links up in the card and down in the description. Thanks again for watching. I see you, I appreciate you, and have a plentiful holiday season, everyone. Bye!